Hey everyone, this is acyuta-bhava from Nightlight Astrology. Happy new moon in Leo today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the new moon in Leo. And before I do that, I wanted to make a little announcement. So many of you know I've mentioned that we're in the process of moving. So we head out of town tomorrow. So send us prayers and good wishes. We'd use them. Appreciate it. And I will be signing off until Monday of next week. So there will not be any new videos. Usually Monday through Friday, I usually produce a video. And Gosh, yeah, it feels weird not to have some videos ready to go for the rest of this week. But yeah, forgive me, and we'll be back on Monday with more regular content to come. So just so that in case you're wondering, because inevitably if there's ever been times where I've kind of gone radio silent, people are like, where's the newsletters? Where's your content? I haven't seen a video today or whatever. So that's why we will be getting settled in our new place and back to regular content next Monday. So in the meantime, I hope you guys have a really nice start to your new moon cycle, and let's just break down some of the simple aspects of this new moon in Leo. Primarily, what I want to do is talk a little bit about um, the meaning of the sign of Leo within the greater cycle of light and darkness in the solar year. So, because I think it's a great place to start. The new moon in Leo is, of course, coming through today, and you've got it in a sun and moon coming together with Mercury all together. Now, Mercury is just separating from the sun, just going to just start recovering from combustion. And that means it's also about to start making its appearance as an evening star. Um, and as this is happening, Mercury is still invisible, but will make its appearance in the next couple of weeks. You'll start to be able to see it in the evening sky as the evening star. This, to me, when you pair that just really young Mercury, just kind of reborn Mercury that's in the process of appearing from the sign of the lion with the new moon in Leo, there's something here that's going to emerge, a new strength, a new voice, a new dawn, a new day. And there's a confidence that's being gained in this lunar cycle that I think is going to be one of the highlights of the cycle as a whole. The reason for this is that Leo has so much to do. So obviously, it's a sign of the sun, and it has a lot to do with building confidence in ourselves. That each of us have a select, unique purpose and reason for being here. That we each have a hero's journey, if you want to borrow from Joseph Campbell, or that we each have like a narrative arc. What does the sun do every day? It rises in the east, it culminates overhead, and it sets in the west. And that's just like the narrative arc that my professors, drew on the whiteboard in my Master of Fine Arts program in creative writing, right? Like here's the story arc. The sun does that every day, and of course, the sun is associated with the humble beginning of dawn, and then it rising up gradually to the top of the sky and then setting. And in a sense, that's what our all of us have the archetypal like hero's journey built into our DNA. We've seen it a million times in TV and movies, and we've heard about it from our people in our lives that have inspired us. That maybe I started with a lack of confidence, or I started with very little, or I started even behind the eight ball in some way, and I rose up, you know and then I achieved. And it's interesting how that part of the story tends to be the one that we really fixate on. Achieving something, emerging, rising. So much of it is about overcoming and rising, but we forget that once the sun rises, it has no place to go but down. And so part of the sun in Leo is also the consideration about what we leave behind. It's about how we walk from achievement or realization toward the relinquishment of power and accomplishment to others, of our life force and death and how we die, of what kind of legacy we leave behind us to others, of what we participate in that's greater than ourselves, because anything we accomplish will eventually be forgotten. It won't, we can't take most of it with us. You know what I mean? So the solar path is an interesting one. The sun's path in Leo. When does it happen? It happens in the middle of the summer, zodiacal summer. Now that's on the light half of the year, from spring equinox to fall equinox. But coming during the middle of the summer, if you take the first three signs from Aries to Gemini, you're talking about it's the yang or light half of the year, and light is rising. So it's light and light gaining. That's youth. And when you get into the kind of adult phase of life, let's call it young adult to adult phase of life, you're talking about summer. That's going to be Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. And during that season, although the light is still dominant, there's more light than there is darkness. The light is now waning in the solar year from Cancer all the way down to Virgo. The sun's path in the sky is coming closer down toward the southern horizon. So isn't it interesting that, you know, the lights, the luminaries, the sun and the moon take place back to back with the beginning or initial descent of light toward darkness on the light half of the year, Cancer, which was called the gateway of man and was associated with the entrance of the spirit soul into matter. And then Leo, which is the sun sign, which has to do with the sense of the stableness of light and the stableness of summer, despite or in spite of the fact that light is diminishing. And that's a really important teaching. There's a hexagram in the I Ching, and I'm trying to remember the name of it offhand, but I think it's abundance. It might be 55. I can't remember. If someone does remember this particular I Ching saying, feel free to reference it. But it says, be like the sun at midday. Don't lament or despair the journey downward. And for Leo, there sometimes is this initial sense of the greatness and vibrancy and promise of youth, of rising up and being great, of achieving something, which is often a sort of young adulthood slash early, you know, like like adulthood motif, individuating, becoming who we are, accomplishing something. For many people, it's having a family and buying a house, or it's the different things that people have where this is what defines that I'm successful at midday of my life. And Leo often gets associated with that part of it, again, the rise, because there's this sense of like, I'm here to do something, I'm here to become something. But Leo perfects itself also in how it recognizes the inevitable impermanence of the ego, of the inevitable impermanence of accomplishments. Whether we build wealth or fame or power or authority or mastery over something, that that will be relinquished. You know, I was watching a documentary with my wife. My mother-in-law gave us like a rare date night, which was so nice in the middle of moving. And we decided to watch this documentary about Miles Davis. Looked really good. We are like, oh, let's watch this. So we ended up ordering out and eating on the floor because we have no furniture left and everything's gone at my mother-in-law's place now. Anyway, so we're eating on the floor and we watched Miles Davis, The Birth of Cool, I think it was called. Really, I mean, what an amazing documentary. It was really interesting to learn about him. So I always really liked his music. He, by the way, had Mercury in Leo, and I can't remember if he had the Sun in Leo or not too. But anyway, I know he had Mercury in Leo. And you know, one of the things that happened to him during the 70s was there were 4 years of his life where he didn't touch the trumpet. He just said, I have nothing to say. I have nothing left to say. I have nothing left to do. And he had sort of, for a moment, grown disillusioned with music. And that was what that was his mastery. You know what I mean? That was his paintbrush. But the truth is that in true Leo fashion, I was reflecting on, you know, this Mercury and Leo motif during the movie. In true Mercury and Leo fashion, anyway, in his life, or someone that communicates to the world with the sort of amazing the colorfulness of his trumpet, you know, and so forth. is that eventually he'll have to relinquish that. Eventually the fame can go away, the money can go away, the love for a musical instrument that people would say he's one of the, greatest musicians in the world of his time for his genre and so forth. And yet there still came a time where he had to let it go. So it's such an and I thought this is such a Leo story. Um, and I had just done the Mercury in Leo video, so that's what had made me remember is that he was on my Mercury in Leo list. Um, that's part of what Leo is here to do, is to learn how to live beyond itself. The Leo energy, the sun energy, is not just about the rising, but it's also about the setting. Because what's happening is that life and light are dying in Leo. Even as you have the appearance of the most solid, enduring portion of the light half of the year, the truth is that every day the light is steadily dying during that time. And that's a juxtaposition that, where does heart come from? Courage, heart, determination, strength, what, to rise up, to become something, to do something, to and where does encouragement come from? Both the word core also pointing to the heart, right? But where does that come from? Well, in part, it comes from knowing that, even if I fail, I'll give it my best. See how the failure is so central to the courage. Failure is so central to encouragement, that there is a kind of willingness to face failure or defeat or uh, you know and but to do so anyway. And similarly, people who have real heart and real courage, at least in my experience, they're people who know how to die well, metaphorically, literally. They know how to accept the eventual loss of light. And that's what gives us real heart, which is a light beyond the literal light of day. It's a heart beyond the literal heart in your chest. um, it's an accomplishment that lives on beyond the literal accomplishments of our lifetime. It's a center stage that we share with all of creation. And that's a big, huge part of what Leo invites us to do, is to live beyond the greatness that we aspire for. And we have to do that as we aspire, to understand that, be like the sun at midday. Don't lament that there will be an eventual setting, and don't try to cling too hard. The more that people chase fame out of fear, it's because they haven't learned the basic lesson that makes any real accomplishment possible, which is that your specialness is who you are, not what you become or what you achieve. And people who know that, they're willing to take the risk, to try something, to endeavor for something, to have an adventure, to love, to risk, to be vulnerable, because they've somehow decided that I'm worth enough already, regardless of what happens, come what may. I'm beloved already. So when that's a baseline, there's so much we can do. Even failures become so sweet. And think of how many great novels the plot line involves tragedy. And why do we love those stories? So there's a nobility in the heart of the lion that is aware of death and suffering. If you want a really good book that explores this theme, the nobility of the lion and the greatness of the lion, but the greatness of the lion with the awareness of the shadow of death, try The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. And not just in that book, but the whole Narnia Chronicles. Aslan, as a lion-like figure, is a picture of the soul, is a picture of the spirit soul, and it's it, its ability to endeavor with courage into all sorts of adventures, knowing from the get-go, that as Aslan says in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, once a king or queen of Narnia, always a king or queen of Narnia. So that's the real journey. And this is repeated in many other myths. It's not, Lewis, of course, was a student of mythology, but one of the other myths that you see this repeated in is the Grail King. If you've ever read the story of Parsifal, that I won't go into, but who unpacked that in a really amazing way. If you want to read a really good book, Liz Green, in a book that she wrote called The Astrology of Fate, she really unpacks Leo and the mythology of the Grail. See, it's not the Grail that saves at the end of the day, it's the quest. This was actually repeated in the Pop movie, which my dad took me to when I was a kid. Took me out of school to see it. Well, I was like this is the coolest dad ever. It takes me out of school to go see Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is a Grail Quest movie. And ultimately, what he gained in the adventure was more than a mystical, cup. And similarly, in our culture today, you think about it, the Grail Quest is often the quest for everlasting youth, but we've lost the beauty of aging well. You know what I mean? Of that real youth doesn't exist. And I'm not trying to bash anyone for anything. I'm just saying, it's it's part of the culture. We say, oh, aging isn't cool. It's not sexy. It's not beautiful. But you know, how many of you ever have been blessed or fortunate enough to have a wise, heart-filled, luminous elder in your life, someone who's truly happy and wise in the later stages of life? What a gift, to have such a person. And we can become that too, little by little. It doesn't happen just because you get older. It happens because we choose to age well. We choose to set like the setting sun, with a sense of integrity along the way, and that's a choice that we make one day at a time. And I think this moon cycle, there's an opportunity for us to do so, um, as well as, let's go back to the first half of the cycle, which is to rise, to become something, to endeavor for something, to follow your ambition, to follow that sense of selectness, of uniqueness that defines and sets you apart from others, from the crowd, from the city, from the masses, that makes you completely special. And there is the bravery to follow that calling is a part of Leo as well. With Mars, a close trine to Mars at the beginning of this cycle. I hope that you'll notice this here, because this is also telling us, and with Mars also going right into a trine with Saturn, that we're going to have to marshal the will and our resources in order to make this happen. But that the energy is there, the stick-to-itiveness, the perseverance is there to see us through. So we're endeavoring on a great work that requires, great effort and perseverance and great maturity and commitment. And that's the mood underlying this new moon in Leo. So be your best self this month. Be the most courageous, be hardworking and committed to what you're being called to right now. Don't kill yourself. Don't, in the process, don't break your back. Leo can take too much on sometimes, can shoulder too much, and then you get heart and back problems with Leo sometimes. But anyway, but go for it this month. Do your best rising sun impression. And also, as you go, as you do it, enjoy it, and also think to myself, and think to yourself in advance, think to ourselves, I will have to set eventually, and how will I do that just as well as I'm rising? So in yoga, when my wife and I, we taught yoga for many years, and in yoga classes, we say it's just as important to rest well in shavasana at the end of an entire practice as it is to do a crazy handstand or be really strong. Oftentimes toward the end of a practice, in the deep stretching postures that are pretty relaxed and not as active, people will often get lazy, check their phones, start checking out. And it's just as important to come down smoothly from a yoga practice. So think about that as you are, because Leo can get us so seriously involved, because it's really, imagination needs us to take it seriously. So we get involved with these quests full on, and we need to, but we have to, we have to remember that we're not, don't strain ourselves in the process, and remember that there is a journey down. There's a come down that we have to tend to just as carefully as the come up. And if we can do that, then we'll be like, we'll be like the best method actors ever. We'll fully inhabit the destiny path of our life, while also knowing all along that you know, I'm here just a little bit, and I know that this is not all that there is. There's something more. So I hope that this was helpful and inspiring for you. I hope that you guys have a really great moon cycle. Send us good vibes for our journey. A couple days is not bad for driving, but you know, with kids in the car, it's like, oh God, here we go, and the dog. So anyway, I look forward to seeing you guys next Monday. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.